Okay, ready?
Top-notch facility, yeah.
It is 6:41. We're going to call the regular council meeting for Tuesday, May 21st, 2024 to order. Ms. Monroe.
Mayor Don Barnard.
Here.
Tiffany Hollis.
Here.
Ryan Green.
Here. Here.
Dave Seeland.
Here.
Al Orsini.
Here.
If we could please stand for the invocation from Pastor Larry Griffin from the Johnstown Baptist Church.
Thank you very much. And before I start, just want to let you know, I'm not the only one praying for you tonight. Or my prayers for you limited to tonight. We have a whole group of people in this community who are looking to you for leadership, looking for you to help us as we grow as a community. And so it's appropriate to keep you in our prayers. Father God, we give you thanks for those who are willing to step forward and become leaders in a community. We know it's not an easy job, and certainly not in a community that is growing as fast as this one is, but there's many changes. Sad as it may seem, the day is coming, I'll bet, before long, when somebody will drive through town and see that Jakeway sign up in the air, or see the Ashbrook sign and say, I wonder who that is, because our ways of living are changing. And we want you, Lord, to guide and direct us so that we don't leave anyone behind in this endeavor, but that everybody move forward together and continue to feel the sense of community that is ours. We thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming tonight. I see a lot of faces tonight. And thank you, Pastor Larry. First on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I have one change to the agenda. Under item 12, we'll have a 12B, which is resolution 2024-20, to add to the agenda for tonight. Do I have any motions
To change the agenda?
or to approve the agenda? What's that change?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with said change.
I'll second. Let's move this along.
Tiffany Hollis.
Yes.
Mayor Barnard.
Yes.
Wes Coble.
Yes.
Dave Seeland.
Yes.
Al Orsini.
Yes.
Jeff Barr.
Affirm.
Ryan Green.
Yes. Next is action on minutes. We have the May 7th and May 14th minutes. These were in the packet that you could review. Does anyone have any changes or updates to those items? Hearing none, what is the will of council to do with these items?
I make a motion to approve the minutes in block.
I'll second.
Al Orsini.
Yes.
Jeff Barr.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Tiffany Hollis.
Yes.
Mayor Barnard.
Yes.
Wes Coble.
Yes.
Dave Seeland.
Yes. Awesome. And continuing something we started a few weeks ago, we are updating the residents of the city of Johnstown on what's going on in the city. We've heard from the Zero K Foundation, which if you had a chance to go to that event this past weekend, it was a really cool event. There were a lot of people there, and my wife could say she finally finished a race. So, and she's got the bumper stick to prove it now. But tonight we have a new group, Johnstown Lifestyle. They're going to come up tonight and tell us about Johnstown Lifestyle, what's on their agenda for the summer, and the events that we have. So, Ms. Cullen?
Hi, my name is Susan Cullen. Thank you, Mayor Barnard, Council. Thank you for having us. We are starting a grassroots organization that is centered strictly around health and wellness. And I don't think there's anybody in this room that can't say that you haven't been affected by some form of either good health or bad health in your life, or wellness issues, whether that be having some form of, having a bad day, or people that are dealing with more serious issues. But it's been on my heart for a long time to create an organization that supports people not only if they're in the midst of something, but also prevention and health. I've had a little bit of a background in health and wellness in the past. I'm a servant at heart, so I love bringing the community together. So this organization is designed to bring the community together and also to promote wellness. One of the three things that we all know, don't really like the words cancer, heart disease, or diabetes. Those are the leading sources of death in the country. So this organization is going to help prevent, or create awareness so people can try to prevent having that onset in their life. So when I started this endeavor, I knew I could not do it alone, and I knew I had to surround myself with people that had expertise in creating an organization where we could get the health and wellness mission out, we could have fun events, but as I said, I couldn't do it alone. So I'd like to introduce my board. We have Denise Blankmeyer, Nicole Shook, Ashley Kuzner, and Mayor Barnard. And they all bring an expertise that I don't have. And as you know, to create something great, you need to surround yourself with great people. So they did not hesitate to step up when I asked the community through Facebook who would be willing. Started out with the farmers market. They were willing to jump in this with me, and I said, let's just bring the whole thing. Let's bring the whole wellness concept to Johnstown. So our end goal is to create this wellness organization that brings the community together. It promotes wellness. It makes a difference in people's lives. So our programming will be online and in-person programming that we hope to partner with hospitals to help develop this. So we'll be looking for skilled people in their trade, whether that's nutrition, physical activity, social or mental well-being. We are talking to a lot of people right now, and they're very interested to partner with us. So our events that we're going to have coming up, the first event we have, it's actually the second annual Can race. And Steve Dyer, the race director, was gracious enough to merge with us because I convinced him to do so. So we're really happy about that. The more philanthropic programs you have in an organization like this, the more you're going to get noticed and the more corporations want to help because they want to be involved in something that is meaningful to the community. So I'm very grateful for him to merge with us. I'm very happy to say we have several sponsors for the race, but our presenting sponsor for the race is the Christy Senningson Group with RE/MAX. So we have a big, wonderful shout out for her. It is just a very generous donation. And then for the recipients for our race proceeds for this year, it is the Johnstown Food Pantries, the 2 food pantries on the either end of town. I've spoken with both of them during this process and asked how we can help and be a vessel to enhance what they're doing. And so we're going to continue that long-term with them. The Johnstown Medical Closet, I had a conversation with them, and we're going to be helping them a little bit. And the Cornell School was already designated to be a recipient by Steve Dyer last year. So we're honoring that. But wellness is all-encompassing. So wellness for students, that falls right in line with what we want to do. And then the Johnstown Track Team, that falls in our active lifestyle category of supporting. They are doing a fundraiser. They're going to be working the race, the course marshals for the race. So in exchange, we're giving them a donation for their time. So it's a win-win situation for them. And then our farmers market, we are bringing a very quality but affordable farmers market to Johnstown, and we are so excited for this. I think the whole town is excited about it. Again, Christy Senningson with RE/MAX is one of our presenting sponsors, and I'm very happy to say that as of today, a few hours ago, we were just notified by Mount Carmel Health System that they are our second presenting sponsor and partnering with Johnstown Lifestyle, part of our programming. So very grateful to them. The market is a food-focused market, so it will have several healthy vendors promoting the goods that they grow. So we do not have vendors in there that get products third party. So it's everything that's produced by the vendor itself. So we have 2 new unique things to our market. One is called Movement in the Park. So falling in with the pillar of active living or mindful movement, Movement in the Park is going to be a stretch class that is going to start at 5 p.m. for 30 minutes on the day of the market. And everybody can bring their yoga mat. We're not calling it yoga for those of you that don't like yoga. It's just a mindful stretch class. Sometimes it'll just be a breathing class. It'll be led by certified instructors. And we are looking forward to having that to start our market. And then the really exciting thing that we're looking forward to is called the Lifestyle Kids Pavilion. And this will be a tent in the park yard. And it is designed to teach children where their food comes from or how we used to live back in the day. So we have different modules coming. Bring the Farm to You is their first module we're bringing, and it's a little petting zoo with farm animals. So there'll be baby pigs there and fun things for kids to play with. Y on the Fly will be there, the first market. Intel will be there with their science tent. And we just have some more fun things planned. We think this is going to be a really neat opportunity for the kids. And hopefully they're pulling on their parents' shirt tails and want to come back to the next market. So our market dates are June 12th, July 17th, August 21st, September 18th, and October 2nd. It is a Wednesday evening market from 5 to 8. And so this is a social market. It's obviously not a Saturday morning market. We will have food trucks there. So we hope bring the family out for dinner, and musicians. And we've got some great musicians lined up. Thank you to Denise for tracking those down for us. So we look forward to having fun with this. More importantly, we look forward to supporting our citizens' wellness journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Does council have any questions for Ms. Collins?
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
can you give that first date again?
The date of the market?
The very first one, yes.
The first day of the market is June 12th,
June
5 to 8 p.m. The Can race is June 8th.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for Johnstown Lifestyle being here. Moving on to citizens' comments on matters not on the agenda. Ms. Monroe, did we get anybody who would like to speak?
I did receive one speaker slip, James Eastep.
Thank you for coming tonight, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you for listening to me.
We gave you 3 minutes to speak.
I'll hurry. I am James Eastep, Vice President of Leafy Dell Condos HOA. I wish to bring some information on Leafy Dell Apartments construction project to the council's attention and request some assistance in rectifying some problems. Work started on November 24th, 2023 on the apartments. After a few weeks of digging, the gas line, power line, and TV cable were cut. Some residents were evacuated. Many were blocked from entering the neighborhood for most of a day. That damage was repaired. Since then, over 4 months ago, nothing has been done, which could be counted as a blessing, perhaps. But the site is horribly ugly. There are huge mounds of dirt, standing puddles due to the terrain being uneven. The drainage doesn't work. The sidewalk is broken out in 2 places. This is where the kids walk to go to the elementary school. The place is covered now with deep weeds due to all the rain. It can't be mowed because of the dirt, the mounds, the rocks, the unevenness. And access to the retention pond is totally blocked. This is no big deal, but kids do fish there in the spring if they can get to it. We residents who are putting up with this mess want to see the jobs completed or the 7-acre plot graded level, drainage established, and the weeds removed. We are asking the city to press the Coughlin Group to take some action. We have tried contacting the Coughlin Group directly and get no response. Thank you.
Sean, could we make sure that everything's in compliance?
Yeah, I'll follow up. It's okay, Mr. Mayor. I'll follow up with James Eastep. I tried to get a list of some of the items that he had mentioned, and we do have provisions in our ordinance and our development plans that require the gas line. I don't know, that one's gonna be a little bit outside of our territory. It's not our utility, that's a separate issue. But the mounds of dirt, sidewalks, weeds, things like that, some of those are zoning, some of those are development. So I think I'll have Terry and Jack coordinate together, and we'll give Coughlin a call and let them know of any of the violations that they may be in, and then the corrective action and when we should expect it. So sidewalks being cracked, those will obviously have to be repaired, and we'll make note of those as well. So
Thank you.
appreciate the information.
Thank you, Mr. Eastep. Anyone else tonight, Tracy?
Not that turned in a speaker slip.
Anyone else here would like to speak tonight? Hearing none, we'll move to council committee reports. Planning and zoning, they met on May 14th. Their next meeting is May 28th at 6:30 in council chambers. Was there anything to report from that planning and zoning meeting?
Yeah, we heard a little bit about the new vacuums at the car wash.
that are coming in there on 62, and also had a couple demolition permits. Starting to see more demolitions, so that's something we want to be cognizant of.
Okay. Design-
Probably,
sorry.
oh, I'm sorry. And we had talked about briefly, that's probably something we want to see some sort of language come out about, so we can make sure everybody's doing their due diligence on any demolition that comes in.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Design Review Board met the same night. Their next meeting is the 28th at 5 PM in council chambers. Is there anything to report from that, Mr. Steiner?
Just the usual customary signage piece that was there. So I think one of the action items got tabled, so they'll revisit that, but, yeah.
Okay. Finance met tonight, actually. Our next meeting is on the 4th of June at 5 PM in the administrative conference room. Our item that will have the report will be on one of the resolutions tonight, so we'll tackle that there and discuss that. I was trying to think if there was anything else to report from that meeting tonight. I don't believe so. Safety and Service, their next meeting is June 4th at 5:45 in the administrative conference room. Received the director reports, the chief of police. We've had a chance to review that one. Does anyone have any questions for the chief tonight? Okay. Mr. Steiner, the city manager report, if you'd like to give that, sir.
We'll do the same as what you have done in the past with police chief. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If not, I won't go through them line by line. So I'll put it out there.
The summer intern, when will she be starting?
Good question. So last week, she started on Wednesday, and she was with us Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a little bit yesterday, and she was down at MKSK's office today, getting acquainted down there. She'll be bouncing back and forth between the two. And just for the record, it's a reimbursable internship through Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission. So limited expense from the city's perspective. I believe our participation in that is right around $300. So.
Anybody that has questions for Mr. Steiner? Okay. We had tabled legislation, Resolution 2024-14, the resolution to adopt the proposed comprehensive plan. Is there any status on that? I know they had changes from the zoning. What's going on with that now?
I actually got a reply back that they'll have a new version, new draft tomorrow by end of day.
Okay.
So as soon as I get it, I will send it out.
Okay. Thank you. So does anyone have any problem with keeping that on the table at this point? Okay. Public hearings of legislation, Resolution 2024-19, a resolution accepting complete infrastructure for East Jersey Street. I'm going to kick this one over to Jack. Jack wants to explain this and what's going on with it.
Yes, anybody living on the street, we had a year-long project. We rebuilt the road, put in new sewer lines, new water lines, new sidewalks, really better. So that project is completed, everything's been inspected and is working well. So at this time, I would ask the council to accept the project as complete, and we will start the one-year warranty on that project.
Okay. Does council have any questions for Mr. Liggett on this item?
So we've remedied all the issues they had with crowning, drainage, anything?
Yes.
I remember there was something that happened afterwards.
Yeah, and actually what I had them do is they milled it all out and redid the work.
Okay.
So anybody that's been up and down that street, we no longer have any ponding. You know, we had a low spot in there, the crown wasn't where it should be, but the contracting group come in, they did the right thing, no stabbing, cut it out, re-crowned it, put it back in.
How old was that road previous to that?
Well, I've been here quite a while and I don't remember paving it, so it's probably over 30 years.
Okay.
Aren't you like
Keep it above the belt.
30 years?
Above the belt.
I have a question.
Jack, go ahead.
It's not about the road, but I know there were some trees, mature trees that were taken down as part of that project. I'm not that familiar with it, but was it the scope of work to include any Replacement trees, thank you.
No, there was not any plan to replace any of those trees that come down to cut the yard back, to get the sidewalk width to sit in there. Those mature trees had to come down. Now, a lot of those mature trees were rotted,
Yeah.
bad in the center.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I think we've had this conversation, I just want to clarify. I'm a lover of trees,
Yes.
but mature trees over roadways shorten lifespans. Am I incorrect with that, with the
You are
freeze thaw and
absolutely
sunshine?
correct. It's very, very hard on the asphalt. The sun can't dry it. Water sits, penetrates cracks, causes additional freezing.
Shade trees are one thing, street trees are something
Very,
different,
very different, yes.
right?
And those were very large shade trees.
Yeah, that's,
Shade
right tree,
trees
right
in
place.
yards Are wonderful.
yeah.
Shade trees along the edge of the road are very damaging.
I'd like to, before we move any further on this, I'd like you to highlight the type of, how much roadway was taken care of there and the actual cost of what that roadway to be replaced was, so that residents understand the cost of just a small portion of that being done.
Okay, well, that was what we would call a complete rebuild of that road. We did some borings on that road and there was no base underneath it. So we continually had potholing, and if you look at the joint street on Cassis, it's under there to leak, and then we'd have to cut back in. So water and sewer lines, not sewer laterals, but some sewer mains were replaced in there. The water main had to be lowered to get the full depth reclamation of that road in. And of course, I think something that we like very well is the sidewalks on both sides of the road and the new improved fire hydrants there. And so for just that short run from 37 down to the trailhead, which it really is not very long, it was a slightly over $1 million project for do a total rebuild on that road.
Thank you. And how many roads in Johnstown, in your opinion, need that same type of work done?
At least 30% need a complete rebuild. So if you take a look at Casson Street a few years ago, we did the first section of that, from Main to Pratt Street, that was a complete rebuild. But if you follow Casson in College, you see how it's so unlevel and potholes develop. You know, there's another 2 roads of much longer length when you add them together will need a complete rebuild. Now we have other roads, such as in our developments. A mill and fill will take care of those situations, just repair the soft spots, what we call soft spots. Every road has a little bit of a, we replace the stone in pinpointed areas. But I will tell you, 35% of our roads are in need of a complete rebuild.
Translate that to miles, please. If you can, roughly.
Oh, Sean helped me here, but we have about, 26 miles of, not lane miles, I'm thinking total road.
Total width of the road is,
So you're
right?
probably talking 8 miles of
Eight-
that.
8
to
miles.
9 miles
8 to
of
9
that.
miles
It's
of
a
it.
total rebuild.
Call it 10 if you want, in my
Another
opinion.
road that we did in the near past was Westview. I think a lot of you knew the condition of
Mhm.
Westview.
Yep.
That was a total rebuild, sidewalks, base, water lines. And you see how they're standing up. When you do a complete rebuild, you can expect in these residential areas a 15 to 20-year life. If we were to just mill and fill over the top of those roads without base repair, 5 to 7 if you're lucky.
And when you do the mill and fill, you don't replace the water lines or the sewer lines or any of that. So if something happened, you would have to.
Yes, and that's the aggravating part. People go, we put that new asphalt down, and now you're cutting a hole in it. But what you have to understand is when that new asphalt goes down, and they're running those large compression and vibrators over the top of it, those old lines, you're shaking them. And if they don't have the integrity they should, they will break, and they'll show up within 2 weeks, and then you're cutting holes in brand new asphalt. People go, why did you do that? Well, it's simply the cost. If you're gonna replace all the surfaces, think the number of houses on each side of the road, and you multiply that by $2,000 per service, it adds a lot to the price of the project. But whenever possible, when money is available, I do like to replace all the surfaces before we pave.
Any other council members with questions for Jack
I
on?
have
sorry.
one other
Go
question.
ahead.
On Jersey,
Yes.
where the repairs were done, all of the grass and yards of the residents there, that's all been done and completed? Everybody's
Yes.
happy with what?
Yep,
Okay.
if you go down through there, you will see, grass has been reinstated and second year in, yes.
Okay.
Looks pretty.
Yeah, yes.
Amelia should tell you that. That's all we're walking.
I know.
Any
I
other
do.
questions? Giving the citizens a chance to make any comments on this, any questions they have on this before the council moves forward. Hearing none, on resolution 2024-19, what is the will of council?
Motion to approve resolution 2024-19 as written.
Second. Wes did. He got it out first.
We'll record Wes as the second. All right. Bob Orsini.
Yes.
Jeff Clark.
Affirm.
Brian Green.
Yes.
Tiffany Hollis.
Yes.
Sarah Barnard.
Yes.
Wes Cobble.
Yes.
Dave Sealer.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move to resolution 2024-20. This is the big one, so stay with me on this one. A resolution providing for the submission to the electors of the city of Johnstown at the general election to be held on November 5th, 2024, an ordinance to amend sections 191-012B, 191-04, 191-051, and 191.07 to increase the city income tax rate from the current rate of 1% to a rate of 2.25% for the purposes of public safety, economic development, operations efficiencies, and capital improvements and related costs, and to increase the credit for taxes paid to other municipality to 75% from 0%. This was in motion, or this was from the Finance Committee tonight. It was voted 3-0 to move this forward to council. There's a lot we can talk about this right now. This was the same item that we brought forward last year to the electors. One of the problems that we recognized last year when we took this to the ballot was that council was changing. It was going to at least be 5 to 6 new members. And we did not want to tie that council's hands with saying how we were going to dictate the money spent. This council, with this resolution to put this on the ballot, has a plan for how every dime will be spent going forward. We have a 5-year plan. With this 5-year plan, we're estimating between $5 and $10 million of road improvements for the city of Johnstown to reduce our debt tremendously and to increase our parks and make our parks nicer. Right now, we currently spend $25,000 in parks a year. That basically covers mulch and the other maintenance of the park. With $25,000 in a city of 5,000 people, that doesn't get you very much in parks. And if we want to better the life of our citizens here, our parks need to be a highlight of that. So this resolution, how we will spend the money, we will have a detailed plan going out there, but this plan will better the roads, fix these roads so that people can drive on them, not blow out their tires, pay down debt, increase our police force. Our police force, I think I got a text the other day, I believe it's been over 40% of the hours a police officer has been alone on duty, that there's only been one officer on duty for 40% of this year so far. And that's not safe for that officer, because if there's an incident, they have to call in someone from the county, and you're waiting then versus having someone local. So it's to increase our staff for our police and increase our city staffing. So that is our plan. I will turn it over to the rest of the council if they have any comments or questions.
Well, this, it's only an introduction of. Are we taking any action on it tonight?
Yes, it's a resolution, so we vote on it tonight.
We vote on it tonight, so there should be a motion, a second, and then discussion?
We have discussion, then motion, and the second. So we have the discussion now.
Okay.
And we're only voting on what is going to be put on the ballot.
On the ballot, yes.
Yeah, not the.
Yes, it's just what's going on the ballot, not how the funds are going to be spent.
No, it doesn't matter.
So this is to turn it over to the Board of Elections you have a time frame to get it to the Board of Elections so that it can go on the ballot. This is the first step in that. The second step is for council to put steps in place of how the money will exactly be spent, how we will report to the citizens on how the money's spent, different things. We want to make this as crystal clear to the residents and be fully honest and transparent with the residents on this.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
and I'll throw Teresa on the spot, from a procedural piece, there's a resolution, but then there's also an ordinance.
There's an exhibit to the resolution which will go into effect only if the ballot issue is passed. The ordinance that's shown as the exhibit clarifies that the 75% credit. And so by it being ordinance, it can't just be taken away.
So I just wanted to add that the resolution will be tonight, but then you'll also have a follow-up ordinance that will be a part of the discussion, the greater discussion. I think there was some question, and hopefully that clarifies it for council.
So right now, currently, the city of Johnstown is one of the few cities that has no credit. That credit is paid to residents, or it's not paid to residents, it's a credit that the residents can get for working in a different municipality. So for example, if Ryan is working in the city of Columbus, he's paying 2.5% to the city of Columbus and 1% to the city of Johnstown for a total of 3.5%. Under this, he'll get a 75% credit for what he pays to the city of Columbus. This is to move us more in line with other municipalities around Columbus that are in much better shape than us. It helps their residents. For the majority of our residents, it's a larger number than the residents that won't. The majority of our residents, this is a tax cut. This does not affect senior citizen or Social Security income or retirement income. This is just unearned income. So if you are retired, this won't affect you one bit. If you're just getting Social Security, this does not affect you one bit. If you work outside the city of Johnstown, more than likely you are going to see a tax cut. So this is beneficial to our residents, especially with the increase in real estate taxes. Many of them are going to get a break here, and it's going to help them in the long run. So that's the purpose of it. It's also to put the burden on the new businesses that are coming into Johnstown. We do see with our annexed land that we're going to have a lot more employees. If we stay at the rate we are, those employees will get paid 1%. Where across the street in New Albany, they'll pay whatever New Albany's is, 2 something. They would pay that amount. So depending on what side of the street you're on, you might want, it'd be better for them to work in Johnstown, but Johnstown's not going to get the amount of money they should. So this is something to put us more in line with our neighboring municipality there.
Now, part of the discussion in financing, and certainly something I'd like to push forward, is to be more detailed in where the money is spent. Not so much that it becomes detrimental to the community. By that I mean, if there's $1 million assigned to X, and a project come in that's $950,000, we're not gonna scramble to spend $50,000, which may not be leveraging that money. That may go into the next year. On the same, other side of that coin, $1 million is assigned, project comes in at $1.2 million, we may find other places out of the CIP fund, if it falls under that helmet, under that bucket, to fund that project. But there will be clear, identified priorities for this money being spent on. I think last time it wasn't quite clear. I don't think the intent or the desire of council has changed on what needs done. I think we all know that. The fact that the city needs more revenue to provide a better environment, a better community, better services to the community, I think that's pretty well understood. I think that defining where the funds will be spent and what the projects they will go to will be an improvement. In addition to that, for accountability, some mechanism of reporting at a set time period to where it will be made public that this money was assigned to these types of projects, and this is where it's spent, this is where we fall. A commitment, a contract, if you will, with the community that the money is going to get returned into things that impact your day-to-day lives and the community as a whole. Our interest and intent, discussing with fellow council members, and I may be rounding off the edges a little bit, is that everything we do should be intentional. It should be impactful for the community in a positive way. And that's our goal going forward. There's a level of trust that needs to be built with the community. Everyone up here understands that. We're familiar with where we came from, where we've been, but that's gonna take a little bit on both sides. We need opportunities to build that trust over time to where we can work together hand in glove versus suspicion and assuming the worst of the other parties. That's the nature of government. Intergovernment among other communities that we deal with or other municipalities and other governing bodies that we deal with, these things all happen. And so my ask of the community is vote, let us know what your will is, understand the impacts, both short-term and long-term, and we need direction, because our current path is as is. Maintaining what we have to the best we can, and some of these dams are already broke, the water's over the dam, they need completely redone. So maintenance won't fix a lot of the problems we have. We need to be able to put some stakes in the ground, make some major improvements, and fund it over the long term. I believe this group to be responsible, totally motivated for selfless reasons, just for the community. So I would hope that we can come together and come up with a solution so that this town can see its full potential.
And I think everyone up here can agree that this isn't a problem that many will say that Intel created. This is a problem that's been facing Johnstown for many years. The roads have deteriorated to a point that they're past just mill and fill, like Jack has said, that they need a full depth of reclamation. And so this is something that needs to be done, and it should have been done many years ago to get us out of the issues we're in now. So, any other questions from council members?
I just wanted to give one true experience that I grew up on the corner of College and Williams. I saw William Street from 62/Coshocton to Jersey. I'm 53 years old, turning 54 in August, and I saw that street get rebuilt and paved in like 1979, 80, 81. And it's not been touched since. You can do the math. That's over 40 years ago, and that is a true story and a real life experience that every resident on William Street can attest to. So that's how far we are behind.
Thank you. I'll turn this over to the citizens. If you guys have any questions, comments, anything you'd like to say on this resolution? Hearing none.
One thing before we vote on this. So I know that there was a lot of discussion, debate, time spent on this in committee. Not everybody has time to make it to committee from the public, things like that. I know that we're going down the road that we can as a council. I think I'd like to see this come out, though, as a true resolution with some time on there before the meeting in case anybody wants to come from the public and speak on it, ask questions, gather their thoughts, things like that. I think we have some time. When is the date that we have to have this voted on to be able to put this on the ballot?
This has been on the agenda for
2 months.
2 months.
We've highlighted it for council meetings for people to come to finance committee meetings, and we've had no one show up. I've invited the individuals who were very adamant about this at the last election, and they have refused to show up to discuss this. So
We've had very good, productive conversations on the, on that agenda topic. It's been on there for 2 months, meaning 4 meetings, and I think was moved from one just because service, safety and service moved off. So we've had 3 good discussions on these points, where that percentages should be, why the last one failed, where that money should be going. I think these are open committee meetings. So I think we've had a very good, open discussion about this.
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
I love community engagement. I think that's a great idea whenever we can. Historically, we don't see a lot of community engagement until an action is taken. The community's entrusted us, empowered us, if you will, with the responsibility to assess the situation of the community, the needs and the wants and the desires, and to come up with what we think is meaningful legislation. And I think we've done that here. So I don't know if delaying it a week, I mean, if there's time, it's fine. It's gonna have a major difference in the feedback we get from the community.
What is the will of council on Resolution 2024-20?
I make a motion to pass Resolution 24-20 as written.
Second.
Is that Will? Wes?
Dave.
Second, Dave. I hear your voices. All right. Bob Orsini,
Yes.
Jeff Barr,
Affirm.
Ryan Green,
No.
Tiffany Hollis,
Yes.
Mayor Barnard,
Yes.
Wes Coble,
Yes.
Dave Seeland.
Yes.
Perfect. Let's move to introduction of legislation. We have ordinance 13-2024, an ordinance to declare the improvement to certain parcels of real property to be a public purpose, exempt 100% of that improvement from real property taxation, require the owners of those parcels to make service payments in lieu of taxes, provide for the distribution of the applicable portion of those service payments to the Johnstown Monroe Local School District and the Career and Technology Education Centers of Licking County, establish a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund for the deposit of the remainder of the service payments, specify public infrastructure improvements that benefit those parcels, and to declare an emergency. And this emergency is to waive the 30 days that it goes into effect.
Correct. This is the first reading. You'll have the second reading and public hearing at the next meeting on June 4th.
So it's not waiving a reading, it's just waiving the amount of time that it takes to go into effect. Perfect. Mr. Stainer, if you could explain this.
Sure. I'm going to give a real quick summary, and then the property owner, which much of this affects, 90% of this affects, is with us today. And they brought their legal counsel, and I'll defer to them for further explanation and further details. I can tell you our legal counsel from Frost Brown Todd Emmett has looked over this particular ordinance, and everything seems to be in order. What this one is talking about in layman's terms is our CRAs, and that's that abatement. So the quick details of this, it's really just about the boundaries for the specific one. Some of the more nuances that exist are going to be happening at the next phase of this. The city is currently looking at a formulation piece that's going to require a certain amount of revenue to be produced from a square footage perspective in order to be able to qualify for these CRAs. Something that I do want to point out is we have a tremendous relationship with the schools, and there is a compensation agreement that we've actually crossed over last fall, late last fall. So the schools will be compensated. So a lot of the times people think of CRAs and tax abatements, they think of the schools not getting any revenue from this. We wanted to make sure that we are not handicapping our schools with this particular situation. So that provision has been digested and agreed upon between the city council and the schools. And with that, I will defer to the applicant if they want to add any additional comments.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, good to be with you again. I'm Greg Stipe, and I act as legal counsel for the Johnstown Land Company. Jamie McNally is here representing them. I think there are actually two items that we're here to speak to. One is the CRA expansion resolution, and the other is the tax increment financing resolution. The tax increment financing resolution is set up as your city manager indicated, so the school districts, plural, are fully compensated for the TIF. So they will get their share of the property taxes, and the balance will go into the city's TIF fund, and then city council will have the discretion to allocate those dollars to capital improvements as we continue to work together to come up with a capital plan. As indicated by your clerk, this is introduction this evening, nothing more, and we're happy to answer any questions along the way. The second resolution, which is to set the boundaries of a community reinvestment area where you already have a compensation agreement with the school district as well, is basically to take your community reinvestment area number 4, which was established by council in 2018, and to expand it so that it encompasses the 380 some odd acres that were recently annexed. Now, that means that that area will someday, only with council's approval and a negotiated agreement, that commercial and industrial development in that area could be eligible for a property tax abatement. It's a neat fit with your existing CRA number 4, because it only provides for tax abatements for commercial and industrial with agreements approved by council. And new commercial industrial development is eligible for an abatement of up to 15 years, 100%, and remodeling. And I don't know there's much to be remodeled in this area, but that resolution from 2018 said that would be eligible for an abatement of up to 12 years. So introductions with respect to the CRA and the tax abatement. We have the introduction of the legislation this evening, hopefully a second reading on the legislation. The next step then is to file that legislation with the State Department of Development, who keeps track of the boundaries of all of these community reinvestment areas. And once they put their stamp on it, then we have a community reinvestment area in place where there can be agreements negotiated and approved by you. With respect to the TIF legislation, when that is passed, it is also filed with the State Department of Development. And then it won't be until development starts to take place in the area that there's any amount of revenue that begins to be generated. But again, that revenue goes into the TIF fund, which is the city's fund, and then City Council approves the disbursements and agreements under which those monies are dispersed. Happy to answer any other questions.
Does council have any questions for Mr. Stipe?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
to boil that down, this is a formal action to allow for future negotiations. Well, it doesn't, it's a formal action to expand identified area that allows for future negotiations for commercial and industrial specifically in this case. It does not put the city in any obligation. It doesn't put
That is absolutely
any developer in any obligation. It just says, here's the ground rules. The state files it. It probably opens up some other information, some things that could happen with the state at that point. But we're committed to nothing.
That is correct. There's no commitments to tax abatements. You have to start by, the way state law works, you have to start by drawing a line on a map and saying, within this area, we are willing to negotiate and consider. Without doing that, we can't even get to the negotiate and consider part.
Seems like an oversight process to protect, you know, future confrontation.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Stipe?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, sir.
and I got my notes out of order, so I appreciate Craig for not throwing me under the bus, but the first ordinance is the TIF, the secondary one was the CRA. I explained the CRA first, and Craig did a fantastic job with the TIF, so I'm not going to bore you with redundancies, but I did want to note the first ordinance that you are looking at is specifically to the TIFs. The secondary one is for the CRAs. Again, Craig did a tremendous job. The TIFs, I will tell you, there is a red line version that will be coming out tomorrow. We've had Emmett look at that specific one. There are some provisions that he would like to see at least enter into a conversation. We've given those back to you all, and we'll expect some feedback, but I don't think there's anything in there that threw up any tremendous barriers for us to proceed, and we'll have those notes for you for the next reading as well.
Mr. Mayor, if I recall correctly, the very few suggestions that you'll see in that red line were to make expressly and redundantly clear that none of the TIF money would be spent except on items that are approved by City Council, which I believe is what the ordinance says right now in any event, but I understand the desire to sometimes say things twice.
Any other questions? Hearing none, this is the first reading of ordinance 13-2024. The next ordinance on the agenda is ordinance 14-2024, an ordinance to amend the Johnstown Community Reinvestment Area, number 4, to add approximately 385.5 acres to that area and declaring an emergency. Mr. Stipe explained both ordinance 13-2024 and 14-2024. Does council have any questions or comments on this one before we move on?
Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, the same declaring an emergency is to make it effective immediately as the previous.
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So I knew this question would arise, and I had the same question, because I know this council's a little bit apprehensive about emergencies. So I tasked the landowner with providing an explanation whenever this very question I predicted would come up. So at this time, I would actually redirect to the landowner. My assumption is there's some target deadlines for some of the economic development in that area, but I don't want to speak out of school. So with that, I will allow the landowner to give some further provisions to explain the emergency action.
Mr. Manager, Mayor, members of council, in short, that's correct. There are opportunities that are out there that could result in some need to negotiate development agreements between now and August. And so what we've tried to do with respect to these emergency measures is to not cut off any public discussion of the legislation, but have the legislation be emergency measures so that we don't have to wait 30 days each time, because you end up with, pretty soon our schedule gets stacked up so that we're out there beyond July and August, when there might be a desire and an opportunity to capitalize on. So we want it to be clear, each time this says an emergency, we hope and request that council will consider the legislation twice. We're just trying to avoid that full 30-day delay before we can then move on to the next step.
So for the citizens who may have questions about this emergency, there's two different things that we can have emergency with this on. Is an ordinance like this requires 2 readings before we can pass it. This is the first reading. We will have the second reading. But with an ordinance, there are so many days after the ordinance is passed that it goes into effect. By declaring an emergency on it, we're circumventing that 30 days to allow it to go into effect quicker. So that's the reason. It's still going to give citizens 2 times to hear this, 2 times then make comment on it. So.
And most importantly, the subject matters will be back before council for approvals of next steps in the future, as we discussed earlier.
Does council have any questions on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
It's not a question, it's more of a request for the public. Anyone that has concerns, information, please bring that to council immediately so that we can review, you can be heard, we can understand anything that may be unknown to us at this point. I don't suggest there is, but with the waiver of the 30-day into effect, that is kind of the grace period where unknowns can come to the surface and this council can take corrective actions or make changes. If we move forward with this, that 30 days will be eliminated. I don't think it's a great risk. It makes sense under the circumstances to me, but don't delay. Know that there's a slight change in how this comes about, and get that to staff immediately, because if there is research that needs to be done, the more time, the more research.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, ordinance 13-2024 and 14-2024 have had their initial reading. They will have their second reading on, I believe it is June 4th, and council can then take action on those. We are done with legislation. We're moving to other business. I have none. One of my favorite things of other business is to hear what's going on in the community, especially with parks and activities. Mr. Barr, do you have anything?
caught me off guard. Not at this moment, but I reserve the right to come back. And
Anyone on this side of the council, you guys have anything for other business?
I do. I wanted to congratulate JYAA and specifically Coach Frank Sia. He, this spring, started Johnstown's first club program in soccer. So we have a recreational where different age groups of all abilities, as I like to say, but the club program is children try out and make the team. There's cuts. And so this past weekend, the commissioner, Frank Sia, and the coach of the JYAA U10 soccer team finished third place in a tournament over in the west side of Columbus at Spindler Road Sports Complex, which is no small feat in the sense that it was the first team in the club program to have that success. So just wanted to say thanks to JYAA and specifically Coach Sia and Coach Mandy for accomplishing that feat through their volunteer time to the program and their coaching abilities.
Awesome. Ms. Stephanie, do you have anything?
Two things. Clean sweep was this past weekend. They did a great job. The square looks good. And the Liberty Music Fest, I've heard nothing but great feedback about it. They did a really good job planning
good.
that.
Yeah, I was there. It's all
It's
right.
good. A couple of us were there.
Hey, Donnie.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna go back on what I said. I'm glad you addressed that, because I was waiting on you to mention that, because I saw that. To add a little color to what Jeff said, third place, in the world of things seems like, well, it wasn't first. But having both of my boys in club soccer for years, even if you're familiar with soccer, there's many layers and there's many levels, and the goal was to compete with people that are in a similar situation. But to come in as a new team and not get your doors blown off like 7-0, 6-0, like just scores that don't happen in soccer, in competitive soccer, is impressive. What that signals to me is that we have people, we have the children that are interested in developing out these programs. And we as a community, city, school, recreational department, JYA, need to come together and support that. Because right now, a lot of that is driving north, southeast, and west out of here. We have the tools, we have the talent, we just need the will of the community to help support those types of programs. Well done.
2 wins, 1 tie, 1 loss, and the loss came with less than 2 minutes left. After they were down 3-1 at halftime, tied it. They were down 4-3, tied it, in the last 2 minutes, the winning goal was put in, and that was the first place team. It beat the U10 team. As you can tell, I was in attendance.
If you don't know soccer, it seems confusing. But once you learn it, I enjoy it more than just about anything as a parent watching the kids play.
Mr. Stainer, do you have anything?
Yeah, I don't want to follow that, but I will try. I've been told that the girls' track team for the high school, and Dave helped me out if you know any of this, believe they ranked first at regionals, which hasn't happened in quite a long time. So I think the boys got runner-up, I believe. So we won't want to get confirmation on these, but I do believe the girls' track team did rank first at regionals. So that's something impressive there. And I'm going to go back to the street cost just to answer your question, because that's kind of a boring thing, and I want to end on a high note. But I wanted to provide Jeff an answer to his question. 650 feet for Jersey Street at 30 feet wide. Cost on that project was $1.4 million. Comes in to $2,200 per foot whenever you have total depth reclamation, if we were to compare it to the Jersey Street project. So
Does that include the water lines and the sewer?
that includes everything.
That
So
includes
that's the,
When did we do Jersey Street?
2 years, year and a half ago. It finished about a year ago. didn't it?
yep.
Okay,
We
so
started the year before.
I would press some on your number there with the way inflation and cost.
I'm just
is going.
At
taking the
8%.
data,
Reporting as is.
plugging it in, no
Probably
accounting.
$2,500.
At 8% minimum.
Yeah, no accounting for inflation. So We did receive a $500,000 grant from OPWC, another $539,000 loan from OPWC, and the rest was city funded out of the Capital Improvement Project Fund, which is dedicated to 28% out of each annual revenue, or each annual budget gets appropriated for that. So, fun data.
And because of our financial situation we're in right now, there are no road projects scheduled for this year. We're trying to get a grip on our debt, finances, so that we could start putting programs together to start trying to work on small road projects, so. Does the staff have anything for other business tonight? Hearing none?
To clarify Sean and verify Sean's statements, yes, the girls' team won first place in the Cardinal Division Licking County League, and the boys' team took second place, so spot on.
Thank you, Dave. I knew you had it.
Computer.
We are going to move on. I would like to make a motion that we move to executive session with our city attorney to discuss pending or imminent court action. Additionally, I'd like to move to executive session to discuss confidential business information of an applicant for economic development assistance. These sessions will include all of council, city manager, and our city attorney for the first one. With no further action or business to follow.
Second.
Mayor Barnhart.
Hold on, Sean.
Are you doing a motion to go into both executive sessions?
Yes.
That was the motion.
I would only ask that you would, for the second executive session, as it relates to economic numbers, that requesting our finance director be a part of that.
Okay, let me remake the motion then.
Sorry.
I make a motion that we move to executive session with the city attorney to discuss pending or imminent court action, and then move to executive session to discuss confidential business information of an applicant for economic development assistant to include the city attorney, the city finance manager, city manager, all council members, with no further business to follow.
Second.
Mayor Barnhart.
Yes.
Wes Cobble.
Yes.
Dave Seeland.
Yes.
Bob Orsini.
Yes.
Jeff Barr.
Affirm.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Tiffany Hawkins.
Yes.
Thank you all for coming tonight. We'll take about a 5-minute recess. But thank you all for coming tonight, and we're staying in here tonight for the executive session.